Good day, fellow fantasy football degenerates. Today, we are going to give you a comprehensive guide, my favorite players, the best players to draft in every round. We're going to go rounds 1 to 12. I'm going to give you some insights as we go along, some strategies, some little tricks to the trade. So it should be a little fun episode here. And we're going to start with round number 12. And we are using as the round guidelines, the bumper rails for the rounds. We're using ESPN top 300 PPR rankings, and Hunter Henry ranks 141st in their rankings, so he fits in round 12. I also like Kyle Pitts. I know it's probably illegal to like Kyle Pitts at this stage in the game. Dylan Sampson, Kyle Williams in this range as a dart throw wide receiver and what I think is going to be a really good offense. And I'm alluding to another player that we're going to talk about next. But Hunter Henry, the reason I like waiting on tight end is because of Hunter Henry. He finished number 5 amongst tight ends in targets last season with 98. More importantly, he was the number 7 tight end in red zone targets last year. And we know New England was a dumpster fire in 2024. They fired their head coach. They've upgraded to Mike Vrabel. Josh McDaniels is going to be calling the plays. And while the Patriots have upgraded the running backs, the wide receivers, the offensive line, there's still plenty of room for targets in this offense, especially targets in the red zone. I think this is going to be an offense with Drake Maye that's going to be able to move the ball, that's going to be in the red zone quite a bit. And when we are looking for tight ends, and the reason I am willing to wait on tight end most years, although we'll talk about some exceptions in round 3 and round 4 if players fall, etc. coming up. The reason I'm willing to wait on tight end is because there's always a tight end that surprises us. Last year it was Jonnu Smith. If you pick a tight end in a good offense that you know is going to get targeted in the red zone, in an offense that probably is going to be better than most people expect, that is a tight end that I'm going to be looking to target. And this year, that guy is Hunter Henry. And if I don't get one of those top options, I am definitely going to be targeting Hunter Henry late in drafts in round 12. Let's move on to round 11. His quarterback, that would be Drake Maye, currently ranked as the player 121. So just inside round 11. I also like Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland. The rookie tight ends are going around this pick. Jaden Higgins, Jordan Mason, and J.J. McCarthy. If you miss out on Drake Maye, J.J. McCarthy is ranked slightly behind him at 124. This one, to me, is simple. I think Drake Maye showed why he's going to be the next elite fantasy producer at the quarterback position. He showed why in 10 games where he attempted 20 or more passes, in those games, he averaged 17.4 fantasy points per game. If we extrapolate that out, he would have ranked number 13 amongst quarterbacks in his rookie season. So why is that impressive? Well, let's not forget that the Patriots were an absolute dumpster fire last year. Hunter Henry was leading them in targets at the tight end position with 98, and the offensive line ranked number 32 out of 32, according to PFF. This was not a great situation for a rookie quarterback to be thrown into, and yet he was serviceable. And the kicker is there's going to be a new coach, as we mentioned. Mike Vrabel comes into town with Josh McDaniels as the offensive coordinator. That's some competency in 2025. They also improved the offensive line. They signed center Garrett Bradbury, right tackle Morgan Moses. They drafted Will Campbell and Jared Wilson. Now, this unit's not going to be elite, but it's going to be a lot better than it was in 2024. And the Patriots have also added some offensive weapons in Stephon Diggs. The Patriots also drafted Kyle Williams, who was also highly touted coming into the NFL draft. All of these improvements are going to help Drake Maye become what he can be for us in 2025. And the best part is the rushing upside is absolutely legit. So last season, playing in those 10 games where he attempted 20 passes or more, he ran the ball 54 times. This was number 16 amongst quarterbacks. He rushed the ball for 421 yards, number 9 amongst quarterbacks, only 2 touchdowns. So if we get a full 17-game season with that kind of rushing production or anywhere close to that, we should expect, 700, 800 rushing yards, close to 100 attempts, maybe 90 attempts, and then the touchdowns. And Drake Maye has already come out and said he's willing to do what it takes when you get down near the goal line, which means he's going to be willing to run the ball into the end zone, a la, I don't know, Josh Allen, similar body type. And we know Mike Vrabel and company, they're going to do whatever it takes to win football games. And if that means Drake May is going to have to rush into the end zone for the touchdowns, so be it. Tush push, so be it. This is not a coaching staff that's going to throw out options that are going to lead to points, putting up points on the scoreboard. So because of that, I do think Drake May has a real shot to get a boatload of touchdowns at the quarterback position. And I think he's got a chance to vault himself into that elite tier of quarterback. We're talking top 5, top 6 quarterback because of the rushing production, because of the upside when it comes to rushing touchdowns. Let's just recap this real briefly. We have a quarterback that has gotten an upgrade in every possible category you could want: offensive line, coaching, weapons, and he never had a running play designed for him in 2024, not one. And they're talking about putting those plays into the playbook this season and having him rush more near the goal line. Sign me the F up for that. Let's move on to round 10. Let's talk about Josh Downs. Again, he's just sneaking inside round 10 for us at 109, according to ESPN. I also like Darnell Mooney, Tank Bigsby, Jerome Ford, Jordan Mason, some handcuffs with some upside near this range of players. Josh Downs had a weird year in 2024. He was number 28 in targets amongst wide receivers, number 19 in target share, number 69 in snap share. And my guess is the Colts are going to have to use Josh Downs more in 2025. The quarterback situation, I get it. It's less than ideal. Downs was better with Joe Flacco last season. He averaged 15.6 fantasy points per game with Joe Flacco, 10.7 with Anthony Richardson. And I would assume, even though we don't really know anything as I'm recording this, I understand that Anthony Richardson is likely going to be the quarterback as we sit here today. So that's not great for Josh Downs. I do think that this is a situation where the talent, we're underselling how talented Josh Downs is. For starters, his reception perception data is phenomenal. Against man coverage, 90th percentile win rate. Against zone coverage, 92nd percentile win rate. Against press coverage, 82nd percentile win rate. And then you look at the success by route, according to reception perception. It lights up green like Christmas. The only route he was really bad at, it was the 9 route. And considering he plays mostly slot, that doesn't really matter all that much. According to Fantasy Points data, Downs ranked among the elite wide receivers in their threat metric, which measures targets per aimed pass on passing play snaps. That is a mouthful. Despite being in quarterback flux throughout the season, the Colts still were able to rank number 16 in points scored per game last season, 22.2 points scored per game. They play in an offensive controlled environment, weather-wise, in a dome. Their defense also wasn't very good as they ranked number 24 in points allowed per game. Sure, they've added Charvarius Ward, Cam Bynum, JT Tuimoloau in the draft, but the defense is still not going to be that great, and the Colts are going to have to put up points to stay in games. The Colts did add Tyler Warren in round 1, but outside of him and Michael Pittman, Downs should have a relatively clean path to targets and a clean role, a legitimate role in the offense as the team's slot wide receiver. He was number 8 amongst wide receivers in slot snaps last season. And at this price, at pick 109, just outside the top 100, I'm willing to bet that the talent of Josh Downs wins out. And Indianapolis is desperate to figure out their quarterback situation. So maybe we do get an improved season from Anthony Richardson. And if Anthony Richardson is bad, Daniel Jones is probably better for Josh Downs, a player like Josh Downs, than Anthony Richardson is if he's bad. And you have to figure that Josh Downs is also going to be running the routes that are going to be easy to complete over the middle in the slot. So at his current price, Josh Downs, love his value. Let's go to round number 9 and let's talk Ricky Pearsall. Now, I also like Khalil Shakir, Juwan Jennings. I know the other 49ers wide receiver. And I think, and you let me know if this is stupid, I think that there's real opportunity here in the San Francisco pass catching room. And I also think if you wanted to draft Brandon Ayuk and just stash him on your bench, because Brandon Ayuk is currently, Brandon Ayuk is currently going at pick 140 or is ranked 140th, wide receiver 59, according to ESPN's PPR rankings. So if you wanted to get, Ricky Pearsall or Juwan Jennings, and then pair them with Brandon Ayuk that you're going to stash, in the 13th round or 14th round, however late he goes, I am totally fine with that. The cost on Brandon Ayuk has gone absolutely insane, and one can be a bridge to another. And if he's not healthy until late in the season, maybe you can use him for the fantasy playoffs. I don't know how that whole situation is going to shake out, but I do think that there's opportunity here and some uncertainty, which we can always lean into and benefit from in fantasy football. And I just love talking the strategy. So again, Ricky Pearsall or Juwan Jennings here at this stage in the game, and then drafting Brandon Ayuk later in your drafts, a great way to get a locked in wide receiver top option on a good offense with a really nice schedule, which we're going to talk about. But let's talk about Ricky Pearsall, 99th according to ESPN. He was recovering from a gunshot wound last season, which is brutal. And despite that, he posted 3 games of top 15 wide receiver production, showcasing what he can do on the football field. His reception perception charting is really good. 58th percentile win rate against man, 83rd percentile win rate against zone, 76th percentile win rate against press. His success by route tree is really good with just a few routes where he struggles. Again, the 49ers are a team that is going to need help at pass catcher until Brandon Ayuk can come back. And who knows, these injuries sometimes can linger, but some estimates have him coming back around week 6, maybe around Thanksgiving. And the 49ers, as I mentioned, also have the easiest schedule in the NFL in terms of opponent winning percentages, according to ESPN. So Ricky Pearsall could definitely be the guy who breaks out in a major way in 2025. Let's go to round 8, and let's get a bit boring because we've been talking a lot of flashy players. Let's talk Brian Robinson Jr., who is coming off the board. Well, not coming off the board. He is ranked 91st according to ESPN's PPR rankings. And sometimes, again, targeting running backs that can just fall into the end zone in good offenses is a really good idea. And I get it in PPR leagues. Brian Robinson Jr. isn't as value as he is potentially in a half PPR league or in standard leagues. But Brian Robinson Jr. is going to get a lot of touches. I know Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt has gotten a lot of buzz in training camp, but Brian Robinson Jr. is going to be the guy that they're going to look to near the goal line. And there's every chance that he gets double-digit touchdowns, and he's going to get a ton of work in this offense anyway. So Brian Robinson Jr. at round 8, pick 91 or thereabouts, is a really solid value, especially if you wait on running back. And if he's your RB2, if you want to go with the hero RB approach, I think that's totally fine. Now let's go to round 7 and let's talk about another running back that I really like, and that's Tyrone Tracy, who's ranked 82nd according to ESPN. I also like Isaiah Pacheco in this range, Mark Andrews, and Brian Robinson. I mean, if you want to get him in round 7, I like him in this range too, and I like those players as well if they fall to round 8. Some of the other players that I do not mind in round 8 are Khalil Shakir, Ricky Pearsall, if you have to take him there, I think are really good options as well. And, J.K. Dobbins, I think, is going to have a really good role in that Denver backfield. I don't think it's going to be just the R.J. Harvey show right away. And I think both of those running backs can keep each other healthy and fresh throughout the season. But let's get back to Tyrone Tracy, 82nd according to ESPN. The biggest fear this offseason when drafting Tyrone Tracy is Cam Scatterbo. And I get it. It's a legitimate concern, but I would argue the price tag here warrants the risk of drafting Tracy as potentially your RB3 or RB4. Maybe he's your RB2, and I would be totally fine with that. Last season, Tracy ranked number 13 amongst running backs in targets, despite playing the first 4 games with under a 31% snap share. Tracy's efficiency metrics were mixed, but he did rank number 15 amongst running backs in breakaway runs with 10 last season. And we know he has the juice to provide us with spike weeks because he finished as a top 12 running back 3 times last season as a rookie. Plus, Cam Scatterbo's dealing with a hamstring injury he sustained in early August. Those things can linger. But the truth is, even if Cam Scatterbo were healthy, when he does become healthy, because he will, it's just a hamstring, It's a hamstring. It can be serious. It can linger, but he could also recover quite well and quite quickly. At this price, it is very much worth it to draft Tyrone Tracy, in my opinion. as he's going to get a healthy amount of the targets because he's proven to be a capable running back in the NFL. Scatabo, as much as we like him, he hasn't done that yet. So again, if I got Tyrone Tracy in the 7th, 8th round, I feel extremely good about that. Let's go to round 6. TreVeyon Henderson, ranked 67th. Yes, 67th according to ESPN. I also like Jalen Waddle and Travis Hunter around this range. The more I think about TreVeyon Henderson, the more I think he's bound to break out as a rookie in 2025. One of the primary concerns is, can he hold up for a 17-game NFL season? And I think the Patriots actually have the answer on their roster, and his name's Ramondre Stevenson. I think he can really help out TreVeyon Henderson. This is a situation where Ramondre Stevenson profiles as a between the tackles grinder, a bigger running back at 5'11", 234 pounds, while Henderson profiles as the quick pass catching, lightning quick running back that can make big plays at 5'2", 202 pounds. Henderson has 2 seasons under his belt where he caught over 20 passes in college, and he lined up as a wide receiver during his time at Ohio State. And don't forget, he was competing with Quinshon Judkins as well during his final season. This is going to create matchup nightmares. The fact that TreVeyon Henderson can basically be a wide receiver on the outside if they need him to be is going to be a nightmare for opposing defenses. The fact that the Patriots selected Henderson in early round 2 tells me they're going to want to feature him in this offense, and my guess is they saw a lack of explosion in their running back room. As we mentioned earlier, Ramondre Stevenson is bigger. He's more of a physical style of runner, but he hasn't been efficient over the last 2 seasons. He's ranked number 49 and number 46 in true yards per carry. He also wasn't efficient in the passing game or the receiving game. He was number 32 and number 25 during the last 2 seasons in yards per reception, despite receiving in between a 9 and 12% target share during those seasons. And he had a major dip in his receiving usage last season. He went from a 12.8% target share in 2023 to a 9.3% target share in 2024. This offense should also be much improved with Drake Maye, as we talked about entering year 2. We talked about all the upgrades the Patriots made to their team, from coaching to the offensive line to the weapons. They're going to be able to move the ball, add in TreVeyon Henderson to the mix, and this should be an offense that's going to score a lot of points. I do view this as a Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery type of situation. So don't be surprised if Stevenson leads the way early, but the explosion of Henderson is going to pay dividends as the season progresses. And I'm not saying he's exactly the player that Jahmyr Gibbs is, so don't expect that. But I do think that TreVeyon Henderson is really freaking good. Let's move to round number 5. And this was the toughest one, I think. This was the toughest one for me to pick because there's a lot of players here that I like. And I ended up choosing Courtland Sutton, who's currently ranked 54th according to ESPN. I also like James Conner. I like Rashee Rice, and we got the news today that his hearing is gonna be on September 30th, which means he's gonna play the first 4 games. So if I'm feeling dangerous, Rashee Rice, he's probably going to get a 3 to 4 game suspension after that. I would feel a lot better about Rashee Rice today now that you get the first 4 weeks, and of that production. And then I also like Calvin Ridley if I'm feeling safe. If I just want a nice safe pick, Calvin Ridley. But Courtland Sutton is my choice here in round 5. So last season, he ranked number 13 in targets, number 7 in deep targets, number 2 amongst wide receivers in air yards. He ranked number 13 amongst all pass catchers, that's wide receivers, tight ends, and expected fantasy points per game. He ranked number 18 in first read target share, and he tied for number 15 in first read targets amongst all pass catchers. This offense is virtually unchanged from a pass catcher perspective outside of Evan Ingram being added at tight end and Pat Bryant being drafted in round 3 of the NFL draft. The Broncos defense is good, but it was good last season, and that didn't stop them from throwing the ball. Last season, Bo Nix ranked number 6 amongst quarterbacks in pass attempts with 567 and number 3 in deep ball attempts. So expect Courtland Sutton to get absolutely peppered in this offense. And let's talk about round 4 now. Kenneth Walker ranked 37th according to ESPN. So again, just outside of the first 3 rounds. I also like Marion Hampton, Breece Hall, and Mike Evans if he falls to the 4th round. In 2024, Kenneth Walker, it's true, he played in just 11 games. So everybody's freaking out. Oh, I can't draft Kenneth Walker because he gets hurt too much. He did miss 2 games with an oblique injury, 2 games with a calf, and 2 games with an ankle. But before 2024, he was mostly healthy. He missed 2 games in each of the previous 2 seasons. So he missed 4 games total over 2 years. So he played in 15 games in each season, and he should be 100% healthy heading into 2025. The Seahawks also have a new offensive coordinator in Clint Kubiak, and I do think that's important because he has a history of featuring one running back. In 2024 as the offensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints. Alvin Kamara, RB9 overall, RB5 in fantasy points per game through 14 games. In 2021, when he was the offensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings, Dalvin Cook was the RB14 overall, RB5 in fantasy points per game. There's also some signs that point in the direction that Kenneth Walker is going to be used as a true bell cow running back in 2025. The most obvious sign is his increased usage in the passing game. In 2024, Walker saw 53 targets, which ranked number 13 amongst running backs, and earned a 13.8% target share. That's a staggering increase in Walker's usage in that department. In 2023, Walker saw just 37 targets and a 7.7% target share. The second indicator would be his snap share and opportunity share. In 2024, Walker ranked number 12 amongst running backs in snap share and number 11 amongst running backs in opportunity share. Compare this to 2023, where he saw just a 54.5% snap share and a 67.7% opportunity share. And we touched on the offensive coordinator earlier, and Zach Charbonnet is there, and Zach Charbonnet is very good and filled in nicely for Kenneth Walker. During his absence in week 2, Charbonnet finishes an RB8, an RB7 in week 3, RB1 finish in week 14. But as soon as Walker was healthy, Charbonnet was out the door, and Walker was once again the lead running back. And again, last season with the Saints, Alvin Kamara ranked number 7 amongst running backs in snap share, number 2 in weighted opportunities. In 2021, Dalvin Cook, similar story, ranked number 4 amongst running backs in snap share, number 10 amongst running backs in weighted opportunities. The past would tell us that Clint Kubiak is going to lean on primarily one running back, and that running back is going to be Kenneth Walker. And that's not just according to me. A lot of the Seattle beat reporters are also saying similar things. Not everything, but all the evidence points to Kenneth Walker being an absolute bell cow running back in 2025. Let's talk about round 3, and it's Kyren Williams. Now, I'll say this, if Chase Brown falls to round 3, Chase Brown would have been my smash pick here, but Chase Brown is ranked 23rd overall according to ESPN. I think that there's a good chance he does fall to round 3 in some of the drafts, but Kyren Williams, he just signed the extension with the Los Angeles Rams. Not a flashy player in the slightest, but this is a guy, we know what the situation's going to be. He's going to get all the touches. He's going to be top 5 in snap share. He's probably going to be top 5 in opportunity share. They're not going to target him out of the backfield, so he's more valuable in half PPR leagues. But over the past couple seasons, we have seen the kind of usage that Sean McVay likes to employ with his running backs, and Kyren Williams is the guy. I know they have Blake Corum. I know they drafted Jarquez Hunter. But guess what? Kyren Williams is going to be the lead running back in what should be a really good offense. Now, it is a little bit concerning that Matthew Stafford is dealing with that back issue. So that is a situation to monitor throughout training camp. But if Matthew Stafford is back to practicing like normal, I don't see any reason for skepticism about this Rams offense. And Kyren Williams is going to get the volume, and he's my pick here in round 3. Some other players, I already mentioned Chase Brown if he falls to round 3. I mean, if you wanted to go elite quarterback, I wouldn't blame you. There's a lot of elite quarterbacks in this tier. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels. That's about where these guys go. So I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to go that route. I also don't hate Devontae Adams in this range either. I'll tell you this, I'm avoiding Tyreek Hill like the plague. The vibes have just been so terrible out of Miami Dolphins camp. So let's move on to round 2. These are 2 of my favorite players. Obviously, they're at the top of the draft rankings for a reason. But round 2 for me is Drake London, and ESPN has him ranked 16th. I also like AJ Brown in this range. So AJ Brown is currently ranked 15th according to ESPN, and Brian Thomas Jr. as well. Nico Collins is ranked 13th. I think that's an absolute steal too. So wide receivers in this range is likely what the direction that I'm looking. Drake London should just have an insane target share this year. He finishes the wide receiver 5 overall, the wide receiver 13 in fantasy points per game. Last year, he ranked number 3 in targets amongst wide receivers and number 6 in target share. In the 3 games where Michael Penix attempted at least 5 passes, again, this is not a very big sample size, but that would be weeks 16 through 18. London averaged 13 targets per game and averaged 23.3 fantasy points per game during that time. The 40.7 fantasy points in week 18 does skew that a little bit, but it's still impressive. And London also ranked number 3 amongst wide receivers in first read target share per fantasy points data. Drake London also grades out very well in reception perceptions charting. 79th percentile win rate against man, 77th percentile win rate against zone, and an 87th percentile win rate against press. His success by route tree is also extremely impressive. And there isn't much standing in the way of London seeing a 30% target share or thereabouts again in 2025. The depth chart right now, Darnell Mooney dealing with the shoulder injury. He may not be ready for week 1. They did sign DJ Chark, but I don't know how much that moves the needle. And then you got Ray McLeod, Casey Washington, Kadero Hodge, Kyle Pitts, and don't forget about Charlie Warner at tight end. The Falcons defense also wasn't very good last season as they ranked number 23 in points allowed per game. They focused on defense in the offseason, spent 2 first-round picks on pass rushers, Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr., but the rookies are likely going to need some time to adjust to the NFL game. And the defense is by no means going to be elite. They play in that dome in Atlanta, so good weather all year round as long as they're at home. The Falcons are going to have to put up points to stay competitive in games, and London should be a primary beneficiary of that passing volume. And my one concern is, I suppose there is a world where Michael Penix isn't very good, but I'm trusting that Penix is at least better than what we saw from Kirk Cousins last year. And if he is, London is a very good bet to make at his current ADP. If you've been following this channel at all, you know that I love me some Malik Nabers, and he's currently ranked 9th according to ESPN, and he's my round 1 pick here. So the reason I love Malik Nabers is he had a better rookie season than Jamar Chase did, than Justin Jefferson did, in a far worse situation. Let's talk about it for a second. Nabers finishes the wide receiver 6 overall, wide receiver 6 in fantasy points per game with 18.2 fantasy points per game. He finished number 2 amongst wide receivers in targets despite playing just 15 games. And don't forget, this was his rookie season. Target share, 34.9%, which ranked number 1 amongst wide receivers. Okay, let's compare that to Jamar Chase. Rookie season, Jamar Chase with Joe Burrow playing 16 games at quarterback, throwing 34 touchdowns. Jamar Chase was number 17 in targets, number 23 in target share, number 5 in fantasy points per game with 17.9 fantasy points per game and 13 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson, rookie season, 16 games played. 16 games started with Kirk Cousins, throwing 35 passing touchdowns. Jefferson ranked number 4 in targets, number 3 in target share, number 9 in fantasy points per game with 17.17 touchdowns. So Malik Nabers had more targets, had a better target share, scored more fantasy points, despite the Giants throwing just 15 touchdown passes. And I already told you how many touchdown passes the Vikings and the Bengals in the 30s threw. So how does that not gain Malik Nabers extra points as we head into the 2025 season? I can tell you why. People still think this quarterback situation is terrible. And I don't think it's great, but I don't think it's god-awful either. Russell Wilson projects to be the starter, and while he hasn't been great, he's been serviceable as a starting quarterback. In 11 games last season, Wilson finished with 2,482 passing yards, 16 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. If we extrapolate that out to a 17-game season, Wilson would have finished with 3,836 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Last season, Giants starters combined for 3,228 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. That's a heck of a lot more statistics if we get a decent season out of Russell Wilson. But you might be asking yourself, well, what if Russell Wilson is bad? Well, enter in Jameis Winston, the hero of all quarterbacks, the savior of fantasy football, Jameis Winston. Last season, with Jameis Winston under center, Jerry Jeudy averaged 21 fantasy points per game. And Jerry Jeudy is nowhere near the talent that Malik Nabers is. And if that doesn't work out, the Giants also drafted Jackson Dart. So we have compartments on this Titanic, and that's a horrible metaphor to use, but there are fail safes in place just in case the quarterback situation doesn't work, at least plan A. We also have to take into account that the team's not going to be very good, and the Giants play the toughest schedule in terms of winning percentage in the NFL. And this is a team that ranked number 7 in the NFL in pass attempts last season. So they might have to pass the ball even more than they did last year. And the Giants still don't have much in the way of target competition for Malik Nabers. This is the current depth chart that the Giants have. Malik Nabers, Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, Zach Pascal, Jalen Hyatt, Amir Smith-Marset. Who scares you in terms of target competition? What about the tight end? Theo Johnson, Daniel Bellinger, Chris Manhertz. And they didn't add anything at wide receiver in the offseason. So what's stopping Malik Nabers from seeing a 30-35% target share again in 2025? Now, the other argument I have heard is, well, they're going to bracket Malik Nabers. They're just going to double cover him and take him completely out of ball games. Now, that to a certain extent might be true for some teams that have the personnel and the scheme to do that. But Malik Nabers is really, really good. And why couldn't other NFL teams just do that? I mean, why doesn't every single NFL team just take away, Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson because they're the best team or best player? That could happen to any player at any time. Now, I get it. Malik Nabers is clearly the best player on this team, and other teams would have to stop, Jordan Addison and T. Higgins, although Jordan Addison's going to have a 3-game suspension. But some teams are going to be able to do that. Other teams are not. And Malik Nabers is just so freaking good. I don't really care. I mean, if we're drafting players based on what we think the coverage against them is going to be, then I just don't know if that's the right way of going about drafting players that we think are going to get insane target shares and are clearly the best players on their offenses. But you let me know what you think of that in the comments. That was kind of a long, convoluted way of saying I don't care about, double covering Malik Nabers. Those worries to me I'm not too concerned about it, but let me know what you think in the comments. That is going to do it for us in this video. Thank you again for hanging with us. Let me know what you think of all that in the comments. Let me know what you think my best picks were, the worst picks. Let me know your favorite picks, your least favorite picks. I want to hear from you. Give me a like if you like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you want more of it. And until next time, be good, everybody, and we will see you later.